I'm 23 years old and I currently travel the world creating creatively ambitious opportunities for people online. And here's one thing I've learned. It's that you have to trust your instincts and embrace the mystery that follows. You have to, during this journey of going all in on yourself, you're going to be alone a lot of the times. Not everyone around you that you grew up with is going to believe in what you're doing or even understand what you're doing. And I've learned you need to take that energy that you'd often spend explaining it to them and put it into what you're actually building and identifying your purpose and your plans for execution on this path. Because as soon as you start doing that, the people, the opportunities, the experiences, they simply start to present themselves and you have to follow them. So if somebody approaches you that wants to help you grow your thing and you have to travel to go get there, this opportunity didn't exist before you started pursuing your passion. So embrace the mystery and get after it, because life gets a lot more exciting when you do that. Welcome to the show. Appreciate you sitting down with me, dude.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah, Jacob's been one that I've been wanting for a while, that my audience has been wanting for a while. It's that you're the name I get the most, I think, because you're the most active probably on socials. So you're crushing the content game. People see you everywhere. So yeah, blessed to be here in Miami. Shout out to Miami Podcast Studios for letting us do this on a Sunday. And Jacob, what is top of mind for you right now, man? This is where I like to start with everybody.
Top of mind, like what I'm working on now?
Yeah, like literally front of mind. I say that question and your mind goes.
First thing right now I'm like really focused on is I'm doing this big event this week.
Cool. We
have 75 people, Luke Nets, Colin Yerkeson, a few big guys there.
Okay.
Hoping to crush it.
Is there still spots open?
Yeah, we have. I mean, not yes and no. We upgraded. It's like at Four Seasons Brickell.
Cool.
So the rooms are a little expensive. We upgraded already once. Nice. I was going to go bigger, but this one I wanted to keep almost more exclusive to an extent.
Yeah.
Trying to crush that and then do a big one December with Hormozy.
Okay, cool. So December event in Hormozy. This pod won't be out by the 10th, but December event in Hormozy. We'll be on the lookout for that one. Okay, interesting. So that's you and Hormozy, you becoming a part of it. How much can you talk about that?
Oh, no, 100%. I'm pretty much just going to do another event, have him come out.
Cool.
I definitely want to go bigger. Funny enough, people, I think that an event is hard to fill up. I think that's fully like not the difficult part. Very easy to market, very easy to sell. Because it's like fun too. We're doing 1,000 a ticket on the 10th. Like there's probably 20 people in my DMs right now that I can go and sell. Mm-hmm. The issue more is logistics, dude. Logistically, to get these events going, especially if they're good.
Yeah, and in cities like, I mean, you're doing this in Miami or South Florida. Yeah, of course. Now the purpose of the event,
dude. I want to break down $1 million a month, bro.
Break down $1 million a month.
I think cool. I've been through some battle scars with it, so it's nice to share it with people, especially when someone's already. I was talking to Kira about this earlier. Like when someone's already a winner, helping them win more is so easy, and it's also really like gratifying feeling. It obviously will pay me well if I could help someone make $1 million. Like them paying me $10,000 is not crazy, and I'm excited, dude. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's an interesting. We've talked about this kind of in the pre-show, and I'm glad it's coming up. It's coming up now in terms of the approach you're taking now, because as we all know, or at least as we know from the content, you started in this business game, high school dropout, 16 years old.
Early, dude.
Early. And I just had Joey Seaman on here. He's a guy you should honestly meet. Great kid, starting an AI company, 16, just dropped out probably months ago.
Young.
And now I'm talking to what I see Joey evolving into. Shout out to him.
6.5 years.
6.5 about years from now. Jacob. What would you, I'm glad this came up, what would you tell 16-year-old Jacob right now?
Man, so my first 2 years, like I made like $1.5 million, probably $2 million, all e-com, 16 to 18. But I didn't keep much of it. I probably profited, like tax-wise, probably profited $250,000, but like spent a good $150,000 of it over 2 years, Yeah. I was a little dumb kid. I had a Rolex, BMW.
Not to mention you got sued, which we'll talk about.
Yeah, that wasn't too expensive, thankfully, but that was scary.
Okay.
I think I would tell myself to enjoy it more. I met Alex Becker in Monaco. Me and Kieran met him. He was cool. And the biggest thing he even told me, so I was so stressed. This is March of 2023.
And just for some context, who's Alex Becker?
Alex Becker, big OG of like the YouTube entrepreneurs, sold his company for 120 million.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty rich.
Cool.
Founded this crazy like Kairos AI tracking ads. Cool company, sold it.
Mm-hmm.
Rich guy.
Yeah.
And, you know, an influential guy to me. And I watched his content for a few years. I met him and he told me, you know, I was at a few 100K a month, literally in person. It's on my YouTube channel. I was like crying talking to him. I go into the whole story. We can if you want. Mm-hmm. But he told me to keep climbing the mountain and smell the roses while I do it. That's like verbatim what he told me. Or he said like, look at the view or some shit like that.
Yeah.
And I remember just thinking I got to enjoy it more. And I wish I did that. I've had a lot of like really stressful times in my life. And I wish I realized that no matter what happens, like winners win always. Yeah. Even if you have the downturn, you have to realize you're going to end up. And that's really comforting to think about.
100%. The fact that you went to Alex showed you were winning.
Yeah.
It's crazy because I recently came to this decision, like just turned 23 years old. And I would say like not just turned 23, but turned 23 this past year. And I always say like one of the realest, it gets a little more, you learn these lessons that you kind of knew were always there, but then they really hit you and you have to learn them. Yes. And I realized I was like, the fact I'm aware of this and I think this is an issue means I'm winning.
Yes.
Because a year ago, me would have just ignored this.
Yeah.
So I'm sure the old version of you would have just ignored the fact that you would be like, oh, I'm doing hundreds of thousands a month. It's whatever.
Yeah.
Instead, you like addressed the emotion and you went to somebody about it, which is cool.
Yeah, I feel like as I've aged, and I'm sure you've seen it too, mm-hmm. you like look back and see like how like naive or like dumb you were when you were younger. And it's crazy. I sometimes coach. Mm-hmm. You know, there's a 38-year-old who pays me a very lump sum mm-hmm. to coach her in her business. Her business does like $2 million a year. Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to get a piece of it. If you're watching this, just let me in. But she's a very smart woman.
Yeah.
She, I told her that she and one of the biggest like moats and advantages I've seen from people is age. Mm. Because when you age through life, like there's no better lessons than the shit you go through because it really just hits you hard. Mm-hmm. And that's what I've realized about a lot of the older people, man. Like, you know, at any age, anyone who's older than you, there's a lot of things that they might know, even if they're not beating you financially or in any manner of life. There's things that you learn from age you can't learn elsewhere. And that's what I've seen. Those, older people, like, I got to do a video like sitting down with like some 80-year-olds, like some rich ass 80-year-olds. Dude, that'd be sick.
Yeah. This kind of segues me into my first question that I was going to ask. And it's like, who do you say is most responsible for why we're sitting here having this conversation right now?
Probably my mom, bro. My mom, she let me be so free as a kid. And I think that allowed me to just flourish. She, you know, let me, why I got kicked out of school initially was she was off on a trip. No management of me. I'm 15, 16. I don't know if that's legal, but mm-hmm. It was legal. She had people checking in on me.
Okay.
I threw a huge party and I made some money from it, but I also got a huge issue with my school from it. That's kind of what segued into me getting kicked out and then leaving school fully. But mm-hmm. she let me really, I think, mature on my own. She gave me a lot of space. And I grew up predominantly from her. I didn't really grow up with my dad as much. And that really allowed me to crush. It allowed me to win because I think it allowed me to mature a lot. I had over $1 million in a adjusted gross income on a tax return in my teenage years, which is kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah.
And she always believed in me, you know.
And when that first thing happens at 15, it's very normal. I come from a very traditional family to just like lock your kid up for 9 months, right? Grounded, right? What they call it.
Oh, dude, she's like the opposite, dude.
Opposite. So the part like that could have been a super, but it didn't. Like you weren't really. It was.
She didn't even She never talked to me about leaving school, and she never talked to me about the party. Never.
So it never came up about. Interesting. Now, when it started to, when did you have to tell her that? Talk to me about the experience of telling her it was legit, because I think there's a difference between making $2,000 a month and being like I can pay rent with my own income, and I just filed a tax return for $1 million.
Yeah.
What point did you start to kind of loop her in, I guess?
Dude, honestly, she just saw it was real. I think we both overlooked the idea, initially too, the reason I got sued, I was selling fake AirPods. I sold them as EarPods. That saved the shit out of me. If I would have sold them as AirPods, I think they would have gotten me. But,
cool. Okay, so the fact that, because I want to talk about this story. It's a lot of people found you on the internet, not to, there's plenty of other reasons. But one of the main videos I clipped was, I got sued at 17. And yeah, so why weren't you held fully responsible, and it may not have been as bad as let's call it the thumbnail portrays it.
Yeah, dude. I mean, my mom, she just believed, she saw it all happen. Like, she literally just, I show her, like, I did $5,000 today. I spent $1,500 on ads, $800 on product. Like, I made $2,500. Mm-hmm. And in her head, I don't know exactly how much she was making, but to give you reference, you know, we lived in like a $300,000 house. Mm-hmm. So for her, I think just seeing those numbers, not to mention no degree, I wasn't even really working. I was just like chilling, playing video games some days. I think she just saw like, I don't know exactly how this is going to play out, but he's going to have money. So, you know, to like let him do his thing. With the suit, how it worked was they got me when I was like already on the edge of it because I kept getting payment processor shutdowns. Okay. So I did stores and the payment processors knew I was going to get fucked. So they were just like, stop.
And that was like your first tell that you might be doing something illegal.
Yeah. I always tell people when you start getting into, if it's ever illegal, unethical, or immoral, you're going to have signs of it and the signs will get stronger and stronger.
Okay, I like this. We're going to expand on that point.
Yeah, it's huge. Dude, something I really, especially last year and a half, I tell a lot of people too. But with that, it was fundamentally illegal, right? And it wasn't unethical or immoral. People knew it was fake, but it was just illegal. And that showed itself more and more. First with payment processor shutdowns. Then I had to get a really sketchy processor. They held 10% of my revenue. And then eventually, even the Facebook ad accounts kept getting banned. And then the cease and desist it was with threatened for litigation. So pretty much, we're going to sue you if you don't stop, was when it ended it. Apple contracted out a huge company in North Carolina. And I didn't sign the NDAs. I could speak about it freely. Contracted a huge company, a legal company, said take out everyone selling their product pretty much. And this legal company was just fucking sending to people. And their goal was, I think, to pursue only the really big ones. Supreme Patty, for instance, you know him?
Yeah.
Dude, he was one. He sold like at least, I think, 10 or 20 million of them. Funny enough, Luca Netz, who's speaking, Luca, at the same time I was starting, Luca was already like a veteran, a few years into e-com, and he was selling AirPods too through Supreme Patty. He talked about it online. I don't think that's confidential to say. He's told me. And yeah, bro, I got that on my doorstep. I was done.
Interesting. Okay, so you got the seasons, and I like that. Like you hit on that pattern. The elements of resistance just kept getting stronger.
Exactly. And it'll happen with anything. Like, dude, people I think make their lives so difficult when you try to pursue the wrong path. Look at like a drug dealer, dude. Yeah. Like, what a tough life. You're scared every day. You have to hold all that. Like, you think it's the easy way to make money when in reality it's so much fucking harder.
Yeah, and your brain fools you because in a way, like I always said, it was a tough pill for me to swallow when I learned people I was close to were dealing drugs because I was friends with them for their entrepreneurial spirit, for their adventurous attitude. I was like, oh, these guys understand business. I was like, they're selling cars because I started like selling cars when I was really young, like just for other people, but I didn't own the cars. I would just sell them as they owned them. So I got into this space and then like we would do flips. And then I realized, oh, a lot of these guys are making 10, 20K a month, not from flipping cars. I flipped more cars than he did last month. He's selling like drugs. I wasn't even doing yeah. And then like when I got to college, like I was friends and really connected, and I would get asked every other week. Like probably the dumbest drug deal offers you could have ever heard came across my table because they knew I didn't want to be involved, but because the level of entrepreneurial thinking was so similar. And I was always like, why can't you guys apply this to something that's ethical?
It's the same concept, dude.
It's the same
it's just the same concept.
Illegal. Applied to e-commerce. Be a drug dealer in e-commerce. Literally, like, one of my favorite guys, I think it might be Jake Youngblood, but he talks about he's a dopamine dealer.
Oh, I love that.
His content, he's a dopamine dealer. And he's just going and giving roses to people in the street and stuff like that. And I'm like, this is cool. So yeah, I'm glad we touched on that because I was curious for my own sake, and obviously
I heard it from Cardone, and I paid Cardone's team $40,000.
Wow.
A lot of people always say like, I'm afraid for coaching. Do you ever do coaching, Jacob? I'm like, I could show them. I spent $40,000 for a day with Cardone. And when I sat with them, the biggest thing that stuck out to me, I repeat and regurgitate to other people that I loved was they said it has to be legal, ethical, and moral. And those three things, it's like so important. Because also deep down, and I'm touching on this in my event, when you have that core product you sell, if you don't have wholehearted belief in it, that it is legal, ethical, and moral, and also doing a great job helping people, that's going to be in the back of your fucking head through everything. You're at Thanksgiving dinner talking to someone about your shit, what you're doing. It's like, if you don't believe in your shit so much and have also the intrinsic results and also external results to show people of like, my stuff's great, you're going to feel like shit. And I think that's too why so many people get caught in this like entrepreneurial spiral of you're in a bad business and it gets worse and worse and worse. I think it's going to happen too with a lot inside of the coaching world of people who sell products they don't believe in. So that's my thing. That's why too I was telling you earlier, like off pod, like when I initially was I just did e-com coaching 3 years ago, and then it was all fun and games when all I did was e-com and that. But then when I got into the agency space, like I was putting 40% of my weeks to agency, yet I'm teaching e-com. So I'm like, why don't I also teach agency and then into social media? I'm like, let me teach social media and content. And now it's spiraled into like everything I pretty much have done, or I'm even a part of at this point. I just invested into a, software AI company with like influencers and shit.
Yeah.
I want to be a part of like what I teach and just teach my experiences.
Yeah, and I think where I see and where we can hit on a couple things here, because obviously the coaching space, the info product space is getting really crowded. There's just like a lot of people, like I hit on, I think are doing the thing for a year, making a lot of money coaching it, not doing the thing, and then their students don't see success and they're not keeping up with the market. And so unless they're like, you accept it, like in a way you kind of accepted like, hey, I'm making more, like a majority of my time doing this, and I bring more value to the market with what I'm actually doing every day. I'm not bringing value to the market teaching something that I'm not necessarily waking up doing every day. That shows me a real one versus somebody who knows that, what you just outlined, and still continues to wake up and do it because they have $50K a month rolling in on their Stripe account. I
think what's so interesting too is people, and what I saw the most was, I think the issue fundamentally in coaching that college does perfectly and coaches don't, is coaches are preaching there's a best, and that trading is the best for everyone, or sales is the best for everyone. Yeah. And factually, it's like in university, for instance, it's the opposite. They have all this shit you can major in. And that's the thing, is that when you're teaching something broad, like here's how anyone can come and make money, it has to adapt to anyone. And I think that's the issue, is that a lot of the time the coaches, they'll initially do the skill, and then they'll transition into teaching the skill, which there's no issue in that. If you teach something and someone pays you, that's beautiful. But the issue is if you're teaching it saying that, hey, sales is the best, but all of your income's coming from teaching sales. It's just fundamentally, it's a bit of a skewed thing. And that was my biggest thing that was hurting me a lot when I was training ecom 2.5 years ago. Like I initially, my first, social media days, I had like an ecom course. And I remember like it was like a year into it, I was like, I hate that I'm preaching ecom as the G skill. Ecom's where I started. It's fun to start with. If you want to pursue it, great. Yeah. But you don't have to do that forever. Like that's not the best business model. And I say all the time online now that there is no best business model.
And at that time, were you probably also thinking this isn't what I would necessarily do if I want to make my first 10K a month online? Or was it did you still have a belief in it over the other models that were out there?
I think initially for me, it was definitely ecom was what I preached to anyone. It's also it's the only thing I could have taught and talked about. It was all I had my skill in. Mm-hmm. I think if I go back now, especially with what's out there, it's sales or probably content creation. Mm-hmm. I think UGC content creation is easier, but you got to be able to talk. It's kind of like a different skill set than sales. Yeah. Those are the big two I teach to beginners. Mm-hmm. But I always tell people like, I started in ecom. I'm not preaching that it's the best. Nowadays, I tell people wholeheartedly, I'll make more money coaching and building my portfolio of companies, because like I can go and start an ecom business now, or I can just post and say, hey, what business doing 10 million a year wants friggin' 200 grand for me for 10%? And like if I make the same from both things, but the 200K investment cost me way less time, like I'm obviously going to do that.
What I like about your way of thinking is it doesn't involve the rest of the world, because I'm very similar and like a lot of entrepreneurs are similar, but they don't make that choice. They acknowledge what you just said, and they still just continue to do what's comfortable, and they're not comfortable saying, dude, I work less and make more money doing this. And right now, for this time in your life, that's what you want to do. Because from 16 to 22, you did do it I
went hard with it with ecom agency. And I always say that the things that I'll ever wholeheartedly teach, I'll know. But what I love that you said, it hit me was, I think the issue is when I just promoted ecom, and this is like, live from an hardcore course guru. I was literally the definition of an unethical course guru for like a year. I can publicly say that. It sucks to say, but it's true. Mm-hmm. And in that time in my life, what I hated, that I think a lot of these guys online hate, is they don't want to say, hey, come learn sales, but I'm making all my money teaching sales. And they don't want to say that, because if they say that, all those people now are going to say, hey, I want to go and teach. I don't want to do sales.
Yeah.
And that's the issue. Is for me, I could say, hey, you can get into coaching. Just go learn a skill really fucking good first.
Yeah.
That way the coaching is way easier.
Yeah.
And I think that's the play I took that feels really great. I can proudly and with my heart and lungs say it. And I think that's the big thing and issue in coaching right now is that, you know, people are teaching the best business model yet doing another.
Yeah, and they're getting involved in coaching for the wrong reasons. I think there's too much propaganda of it's the get rich quick way, and people are lazy, and money is the biggest scarcity that we all have in our life. It's money, love, and importance, right? So like naturally, I say that the trend of getting exposed to social media is so much earlier now. These poor 13-year-old kids are like thinking, like, I love that they think they can get to 10K a month in 6 months. I don't love that they're thinking I'm going to coach somebody on how to do it do it.
I haven't seen a 13-year-old coach. If that's out there, that's crazy.
16 to 18. I mean, well, in my opinion, if you're even at 18 is like
it's
2 years of experience. Like it's interesting.
Hormozy says it. I love what he said. I think it was Hormozy. Yeah. Some big guy said it. I loved it. They explained that the issue in coaching and why it's blowing up so much is because everyone's overpromising. Yeah. Like the vast majority of the market's overpromising, which makes it seem so good. It's like, why go to college for 4 years when this guy's saying I can make 10K a month, like instantly? Yeah. And I think that's the issue that'll probably balance itself out. I think the FTC is mainly going to be the contrasting force.
Yeah.
Who knows where it'll go, bro? It's big.
Yeah.
It's big.
I'm always curious. I am kind of wondering now, where do you see, what do you think is the best business model present day 2024? So if you were starting, let's do that. Let's do if you were 0 to 10K a month.
Right now, starting fresh.
Yeah.
I always say, man, I mean, I think there's no necessarily best.
Yeah.
The average beginner is probably going to do something in sales or content creation. Super cheap to start, zero downside risk. That's the big thing that initially I'd always talk e-com, but there's downside risk of cash. You're going to run ads. You're going to pay the store. Like there's a solid downside risk, a few $1,000s. A lot of beginners can't stomach that, and they also don't want to. It's like a contrasting force that makes you not want to start. If you have to pay $2,000 to run ads and all this stuff, it keeps beginners away. So if I'm starting off, I'm doing something content creation for brands, or even potentially promoting for them on TikTok Shop or in the sales world. Like for me, I'm like a kind of I want to go kill my meal and fucking eat that night.
Yeah.
I think that's the sales archetype of human. If I'm an 18-year-old cheerleader who rips like the Hailey Bieber iPhone case, like I'm going into media maker. I like TikTok. So I think, people have different wants, and you got to pursue what you want, but those are the main two I preach for beginners. Learning a good specialized skill, that's the biggest thing.
And I like that it's not so focused on what business should I start as a business, as a first a way to make money online. It should be what skill should I learn to make money online, because you do something for someone for free, they'll pay you to do it again if it's good.
Exactly.
And
it's the easiest too. Those two are the easiest. When you start getting into more services, like, the vast majority of businesses on this planet are service based, especially a lot of the mid to bigger ones. I think that you get into, there's normally a service, either digital, physical. And from my perspective, with any service, the biggest thing to start is it needs to really solve someone's problem. But when you're just starting, a lot of the times it's going to be so difficult to do that in my eyes, which is why I say go move into almost like a job. The sales idea, the content creation idea, you're a freelancer. Yeah. And that's totally okay. Yeah. Especially to stack, money is the biggest form of power, and also the biggest financial, I don't know the word for it, but it reduces pressure when you see 100, 1 million, 10 million in your bank account, whatever your number is. I always tell beginner, dude, you don't have to rush. Get 50, 100K in your bank account. Chill.
Yeah,
slow
get
down.
$10,000 and not have to worry about bills.
Exactly.
Guys are like, oh, I could never move to Miami. You could move back to your hometown, work for a year, save $10,000, and move to Miami for a year.
Dude, I tell
you
students
100% could.
I've told students to DoorDash. I've told people
I hate the mantra. It's too expensive. I'm like, you get what you pay for. You get what you work for.
100%.
It's not too expensive. Yeah, but you continue.
No, time's everything, dude. Yeah. But it's a crazy world we're in. I think specifically, I've said it online a lot. I think that coaching 100% is displacing college. It's not even a question on if. Yeah. It's just more so a matter of how quickly it's been happening. It hasn't happened extremely quick, which is why I think people aren't talking about it. College is falling off and coaching is on the rise. I think the question will be who can really capitalize on that. my big thing now with what I'm doing with like our B2C side coaching.
Yeah.
So how it works for me is it's pretty much I either train a beginner, or if you're a business at $1 million a year in EBITDA or profit, at that point I'm open to investing into it. We have 11 companies we're partnered with right now, combined to 40 million a year. So I'm trying to help beginners start and then bigger businesses scale. The big businesses is where I'm ideally really going to make money, but that's longer term.
Right.
The little businesses is like how I'm getting followers, growing, etc., or running so many ads.
Yeah.
And all in all, the helping beginners start, I'm right now trying to transition that to almost a next gen college. That's like kind of my short 1-2-ish year vision.
Yeah.
Kind of like a Lynn University, Kaz University.
Well, and in a way, with all this, call it private equity experience, I don't know if that's the term for it, but angel investment experience that you're getting, you help these guys build companies. I mean, who gets to invest in them first?
Exactly.
Like,
no, it works well. That already happened. It's happened for me once so far where I got just like a really good deal being in my spot.
Oh, that's cool. Okay.
And that's what I've realized is that when you provide also these, like, dude, I'm doing this event. When I initially posted the event, we sold 40 grand in tickets in 2 days.
Yeah.
And it's just because people just really trust me. A lot of these students, obviously not everyone, but you know, the vast majority, especially all my success stories, like they just trust it. And the value exchange there is so great. And that's what I love about the long term with like training beginners too, is it's cool. Like when you hit it on the head, and that's my biggest thing now is where we don't promise too much. Mm-hmm. It's like, we're even filming this morning, dude. I'm literally in that video. I'm just like, look, I'm not going to give you some secret shit. I'm just, I've made $35 million. You can have access to me a few times a week and be able to text me. It's a pretty good change.
Yeah.
With that, will you make more than what you pay? Like the answer is obviously yes. The event I'm doing on Thursday, like one of the first slides is you guys are paying $1,000 to $5,000 a ticket. Like my goal is to make you 1,000x that in the next few years. Like if someone's making $1 million a year and for them to double it, like that's pretty lit. And it's not even that hard, dude. And then I always say for like a standard of income, like look at the Musks, look at even the lower tier Musks, like the Mark Cuban. Yeah. Mark Cuban made his fortune selling a TV company that pretty much went out of business a decade later. Like it wasn't even fundamentally that crazy. You realize there's just so much money floating around, and a lot of the people who have a lot of it are fucking retarded. Yeah. And the barrier, the standard is so low. And I think what keeps people from hitting is not even what they know, but I think it's the things that they are allowing in their day-to-day. It's like people know the path, they know the plan, I think a lot, but there's all this shit that keeps them from it that kills them. That's at least what I've seen. So for me, man, I really try to push people to make a lot more. I'm trying to have such low promising, like what I tell you I'm going to give you, to where then what you get is just drastically bigger. Yeah. I think that's the big thing that's also saved me. A lot of the coaches I think get exposed, shitted on. Thank fuck 3 years in, I haven't gotten fucking obliterated yet. And you know, behind the scenes, I think we're doing more than, there's very few people in my head I know who are doing bigger numbers than us. Mm-hmm. It's cool. It's been fun. Yeah,
there's a couple things I want to hit on there. One is at the level you're at now, what's been the most recent thing you had to eliminate?
Eliminate? What do you mean?
So you just mentioned it's not really about like what we don't necessarily know, but like what's been the most recent thing, you know, that you'd say you had to.
I think a never ending for me is my phone. Okay. So I'm pretty good with my phone, dude. Like my average screen time per day is probably 2 or 3 hours. Mm-hmm. But there's like a 1 or 2 day a week where I'm not gonna bullshit you guys. Like I've like get fucked on TikTok maybe for 2 hours, IG Reels, and it's, man, I don't think people are talking about it enough. I think the biggest fuck up is a lot of the really rich guys are acting like they're perfect, and it's creating this dynamic where people who aren't rich just think there's no way they can get to this monk discipline status. Yeah. And I even teach, you know, I teach like a God mode setup to my students. I tell them to be second to God, really get on that God level. And I'll put my phone in my microwave, not turn it on, but just put it in weird places to not use it. So for me, the biggest thing I keep out is my phone and really any distraction to my work. I have a house cleaner come every day, a chef. I have a Latina girlfriend who also does a lot for me. That all systemizes my life so much where I just work, bro. Yeah. And that's what I've seen is when I get a good 8-10 hours of good work in a day, like 4 hours deep, the other hours lighter work, I just get so much done. And man, when you just get a good day and a few good days in a weekend, like I love that feeling of in a week doing what the shitty version of me would have taken a month.
Right. So really your biggest ad is like literally just not having your phone around and systemizing your life. Anything that's not focused on the business is really not worth my time right now because that's where your goals are aligned.
Cool. I like that.
I pay, dude, like probably
Yeah.
12 grand a month in like system optimizers for me. I have a dog walker twice a day, every day. What else, dude? I mean, everything. I'll
Which
like,
one's the most important?
phew, my assistant. She like went now. I wanted to get new shoes instead of going to the store and getting new shoes like for 2 hours. Like I had her get 8 pairs of shoes. She spent 5 grand and she'll return like 6, 7 of them. And it might sound like overkill, but it's just like that 2 hours she saved me. Like if I know I'm going to be worth 100, $200 million, that probably saved me like 10, 20 grand. And like, yeah, that's a pretty good.
And now you don't have to go try on 8 shoes and put them back, and then she brings them back. Yeah, I got
dude,
you.
my biggest. I went to a dinner the other day, dude, and I'll normally never go out on weekends. I'm a big dinner guy, but I really try to go out to dinners on the weekday because you're a little more chill. Yeah. There's no waits.
Cool.
Bro, we go to Casanova. What was it called? Delilah. Fuck this place, dude. And you have to wait an hour and a half to sit down and eat dinner. Like, what a disgustingly dumb dynamic.
Yeah. Like,
you're there to eat food. They could just schedule it better, but they don't. Yeah. And I just hate that, dude. It feels like such a burned time. Fuck Delilah.
Now, a couple of questions that will kind of start to wrap this up with. One had for you that kind of came in through Instagram, but obviously you're very open that you help, like your team is very involved with what you do, and you give back to your team, and like it's super cool to see. Like I love like watching it. I like watching Kier's stuff, like the whole 9 yards. But what would you say is like the biggest challenge of having team members that also become friends?
Ooh, they can't, as much as it sucks. Even one of the most key people on my team recently I just fired. Mm-hmm. And I love people. I think one of my biggest weaknesses actually as a leader is how nice I am to people. I think that it's a double-edged sword. It helps me a lot, and it makes people love me even in the bad times. Maybe pay's low, maybe the business is shrinking, so I have to squeeze people out. Especially with, my e-com brand, at one point I scaled it up to there was 12 people behind the scenes. I had to fire half of them when a huge ad account issue happened. I had to descale it. But I think the biggest thing for me is you cannot allow a friendship to be stronger than the relationship. And the key is that in my eyes, every relationship, friend, sexual, even like parenthood, a mom or dad, it's always in some way, shape, or form transactional. Even if there's like an emotional level there, it's still to an extent. Like I think the only case where maybe it stays away or it's very far away from the spectrum is a mom to her kids or a dad to his kids. But the way I look at it is even Jolie, my assistant, I've known her for 17 years. Like I have no problem in my head completely separating the personal to the business, because the personal for me is almost intertwined in the business in a way. And I don't know, I guess for me, I don't care about anything right now really other than my work and winning in business. And I think I could put my personal feelings to the side, but it's difficult. And I've also learned, especially from experience, it should always start as business and then transform to friend. Friend to business almost never works, but business to friend can work because, as I said, like we have such a good relationship, but we both intrinsically know business comes first. Even if, God forbid, like it ended our business relationship, we could still be friends. But anytime we have any relationship, it's always business first, even if we're fucked up. Like we could be fucked up on a boat. Like it's the same concept.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's a really good strategy that I don't know why nobody ever told me that when I was 17 trying to hire all my friends.
Friend to business.
You should be business first and then friends, because now that I'm older, granted, like went to school, I don't know if they...
You had to go through that.
I just had to go through it. Like literally had to go through, like started a podcast with a roommate, still love him to death, but they're never going to care about it as much as you do. And I cared about him too much to where I like so much that I was just like...
Well, and partnerships, dude. Partnerships are... I hate equal partnerships. One thing I will never do again in my life. And I've done it twice. Both times it didn't go terrible, but there needs to be one clear owner, one clear leader who also has like all the marbles. You can have a few of the marbles, a few of the piece of the pie. Yeah. That's why I love this idea now. And I realize I don't care to be the powerful one. I'll be the fucking bitch. I'll take 10, 20% of the business. I'll be your bitch. You make the final call. Just like, let me give you my opinion. Yeah. And I've really been enjoying that now with companies. Like, it's just super nice even to offload the leadership to someone else. And that's my big thing now is I'm trying to, hormosiusacquisition.com. We're trying to do a healthy balance of that. So it's kind of like a university flow. Yeah. And some also secret sprinkles on top of those. And a nice, like, new vision almost. I feel like no one's really done it.
Yeah.
Hopefully it hits. So far it's going good.
Yeah, and I think it's okay for there to be a new wave of
Yes.
business models, and it's okay. Like, that's what I'm really big on. Just because you haven't seen me do it before doesn't mean it can't happen. Like,
100%.
just because you haven't seen 100 people do it doesn't. That's where the outsized returns come from. And then now this is kind of like usually the final question, but every guest gets to ask me a question.
Ooh, I think the biggest thing I'd ask is, so far I'd imagine you've done a crazy amount of conversation, smart brains. And I'd wonder what's the most impactful thing you've heard, not from today. Hopefully you got something great today. But
Yeah, we had a lot of gems in this one more just because I'm starting to, like, we're starting to talk about what I know a lot of my audience is actually paying attention to. But yeah, so we're about, I was talking about this with I was at a cigar with EK the other day. And I was telling him.
Oh wait, it was EK?
Yeah, he's
my God.
Yeah, I met him in Tulum, and then we went, like, whatever, small world.
EK's on my team.
Yeah, and that's how he's like, oh, dude, you should interview Jacob. Like, he'd love to do it. And I was like, yeah, like, I'll talk to him, whatever. And so I was talking with him at Empire, and I was like, dude, I'm 90 episodes in. And he kind of asked me something similar. So it was like, I'd say the most impactful thing somebody said was, I'm going to spend some time thinking about it just because if I can remember what was said, I want to
just hit you. Man.
I want to remember who said it. Because I can definitely remember a few of the terms, but I'm not. Let's see.
Who? Even the biggest thing that just comes to mind.
Yeah.
What's top of mind?
It would be that. So Arlen had some really good advice for me off camera. And he said, if you're, like, be honest with where you're at and share, and always, like, basically, he essentially said authenticity is the highest frequency. A lot of people say it's love, happiness. Authenticity is what people actually generate the most with. And when you look at, and so what he had told me to do, he said, your biggest thing is that you haven't done it yet. He's like, your biggest thing is that you're documenting you doing it. I was 21 at the time. He's like, you're documenting you doing it, and you're out in Malibu and just out here shooting me, drove here, whatever. Like, talk about that. Don't try to talk about scaling a business to 100K a month. You haven't done that. Don't try to talk about how you're going to get to 10K a month. You haven't done that. Don't talk about what you're going to do. He's like, just talk about what you're doing, and people will resonate with that.
I love that.
And as you get older, you'll get more respect. Right now, nobody really cares that you're doing this, but so what? They don't care, so keep going until they do. And now that I'm 2 years in, sitting, like, renting studios to do podcasts like this, it's like, I get it. I see what he meant.
I love the idea of authenticity is the highest form of frequency.
Yeah, it's like the highest frequency energy. So cool, man. Well, any final thoughts?
Man, nothing much, dude. I hope if you guys watch this, you are richer tomorrow than you were today.
Like that.
And I appreciate you a ton for having me on, dog.
Thank you, man. Super blessed to do this.
Fuck yeah.
Would you be down to do like 5 questions to Jake for our SFC?
Oh, yeah.
Just give the questions, you can ask him, you'll be on the page.
What a beast, dude.
Yeah, let's do it. Smart.
So, what's the hardest part about getting to 100K per month?
Okay.
Ask him, and then you can answer. Jake, SFC.
What is the hardest part about getting to 100K a month?
I think you as a human being, and we talked about this a little earlier, like, you as a human being will fucking destroy yourself in your first 10K months, 100K months. And I think once you're at like 50, anywhere from 10 to 100K a month, you really found your flow. At that point, scaling it's more so other people, not you. But I think 0 to 100 is a lot you. And man, like, if you've ever seen that rich person who parties more than 5 times a month, like, he's just literally, it's like he's trying to run a marathon and he just fucking took a switchblade into his thigh. It's like you're fucking yourself up. So the biggest thing I'd say is focus on you, be the best version of yourself, especially if you're trying to be rich. Don't half-ass it. Like, just go all in on it. And then you get your goal, then go fuck around.
Okay. Then the second question is, what is the craziest result you got for a student so far?
What is the craziest result you've gotten for a student before?
So on our beginner coaching, I always say too, as like a disclaimer, teaching people from 0 is hard, but I've brought a few people now from 0 to over $1 million. The biggest one's like 0 to 1.7 mil, all in e-coms. We probably netted like 500-600, but the B2B is way bigger, but it's also less impressive because, again, like 0 to $1 million is way harder than $1 million to 10. But we helped a company scale. They did 13 million last year. This year they're going to do 50. I have a few points in that company. what else, dude? I mean, my agency, now I'm a minority owner, my partner's agency, that's doing phenomenal. Again, multi 7 figures. So the biggest thing for me that I've seen with the changes from that 0 to 1, 1 to 10, it's team and people. When you get a good team, man, you just fucking grow.
Okay, we do one more because you're fried, I guess.
What?
Are you fried?
Yeah, I'm fried.
Okay, one more. Easy one then, or I don't know the easy one. What's the hardest moment of your life so far?
What is the
Can be anything, private or business. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. So, final question for you: what has been the hardest point of your life so far, life or business?
I think for me, probably enjoying the process. I think I've been very stressed. I mean, not even I think, I know I've had times where I wouldn't say I was suicidal, but I was really tough. It was just tough. I didn't enjoy my life.
Yeah.
And that really sucks. And everyone has those moments. That's something I think no one talks about, that everyone has those bad moments. But for me, I think enjoying the process of growing a business, but there's also a side to me that says there's got to be the shit. There's got to be the tough times. But definitely that, just trying to enjoy even the bad times.
Enjoying it more. It's cool. It's always so interesting for me to hear that, because when you say like enjoy the process more, I'm like, dude, you're doing $1 million. You're doing $1 million a month.
This
like,
year we'll do like 25.
right? Like, okay, awesome, man.
That's crazy. Fuck
good.
that, dog.
Thank you. Yeah,
That's fun.
we're good.